Hey yo. Alright. So I've been playing Zenless Zone Zero since its release. Been going heavy at it the last week, just like everybody else. uh and after experiencing so much of the game, I feel like I want to get my opinions and thoughts out there because I think this game is absolutely incredible. I think this is Hoyo versus magnum opus as far as like all of the games that they've done in recent, as far as like Honkai, Star Rail, into Genshin. They're taking everything that they've learned from those games and what works and making it into like the first game that they made that actually just feels like a regular game. All right, so far I'm internet level 26. I'm um probably like two more story modes away from unlocking endgame. As far as like my story mode progress, I'm in chapter 2, about to finish the Billabog arc. So where do I begin? First off, like getting into the game, they waste no time showing you off rip what they're good at, and that is the comic panels. They decide to do their storytelling three ways, like they typically three ways. One is like how they typically do with using the character models just talking back and forth from each other. They decide, instead of doing it in the open, well, they do it in the open world sometimes, but scarcely. They seem to prefer using that for whenever they're doing like side stories or side quests, which I think is a good call on their part because that kind of thing isn't voice acted. Their main source of telling their story is through the visual novel style, where they'll take the characters' models and put them on top of a static background, reflective of where they're at, and they'll talk to each other. I think that one's decently done well. In their other games, it's relatively boring because they all the characters would use the same animations. That would be cross their arms talking, hold the side of their face, put their hand forward. Here, although characters do tend to have like their own like character animations that they do in those talks, everyone's is unique to them. Like you have them standing, character signature one. All that's all to say is that it doesn't get boring. They keep it relatively snappy and the writing is done really well, so none of it overstays its welcome. Their second way of telling story is through comic panels. Their comic panels are just ludicrously good. They're just straight up manga panels. Like, and I'm not surprised because if you look into further MyooMyoo work, like they have comic panels for Genshin, they have comic panels for Honkai Impact. This is the first time they decided to actually use those comic panels in their games, and it's really, really good. It reads very fast, like you're reading a freaking panel for One Piece or something. Like it reads very fast, it's very digestible, it's very entertaining, and it comes up often. Like even with the Bellabog story, as far as like going into the story mode quest, you are guaranteed to get a comic panel somewhere in that, and that's in like a 12 to 20-minute span. You're gonna get a comic panel that tells the majority of that story. And then they're in-engine generated cutscenes, jaw dropping. Like they got some madhouse work going on there. It's very lucid, like have a little bit of rubber hose animation to them, as far as like the body parts will exaggerate like mid cutscene. Like you see someone like trying to run away, their body limbs stretch a little bit to emphasize movement, and it looks so good. You get at least one every chapter that you're going through, or rather every like story quest you're going through. They just all look so good, and it all comes up very frequent. None of them overstay their welcome. You stay very engaged during its story. For a got, that's bringing disrespect to it. Just saying for a gotcha game, I'm saying like compared to all their other games, like you beg for a skip button because like okay, like the story is interesting, but I'll look it up later. Like let's just keep it going. This is the first time playing something from MyooMyoo that I have sat through and read all the dialogue that I've been getting. I've sat down, listened to all of the cutscene work. I am engaged. I'm never bored. Even when I'm starting to get a little bit of like the eye roll, it pays off very quickly. Next up, sound design. Man, let me tell you, everything about this, how this game sounds, is so satisfying. From doing parries, hearing that clank every time you land it, to getting your dodge, to just doing the regular basic attacks. Like, everything sounds so lucrative to the ear. It is addicting. Like, it's a big part of like what makes combat and just fighting and chilling in the game and just giving the game this real vibe, right? Like, this game just has this immaculate vibes as far as like its BGM, its hype moments, just everything sounds so good. Heck, what I think stands out so great about this game is just how it is super cozy to like finish your day, pop in like the morning soundtrack when you're in the video store playing in. Like, I'm telling you, man, from here on in, like, this channel is going to be using this background music for a lot of stuff. Like, I'm telling you, it is very, very good. I'm very impressed with their work. The setting, I'm very pleased with the choice in it. In terms of Genshin, you have the very isekai fantasy world, which is pretty in its own sense, in the same vein of like Legend of Zelda Wander. In Honkai, it's kind of just everywhere. There's a lot of different places to be, but unless you are invested in the story, you're not going to get too attached to the areas that you're in. Here, they put work into the town that you're in, is condensed, and everything is very stylized and looks great. There's graffiti all over the walls. The whole thing is just bleeding passion. There is nowhere you can look in the game that doesn't have some art that just screams, person made this with heart. You know, it just looks really, really good. I love that they chose an urban setting. It feels grounded to earth, but not in a like, it feels grounded into earth, not in a Simpsons to Bob's Burgers way, but rather a believable world way. You know, everything feels grounded. Even its fantasy is grounded. Like, they explain what is being caused. They explain to the best of their ability without giving too much of the story away, like what it is you're dealing with here. Like, the Hollows is a procedurally generated zone based pocket dimension, essentially, where if you stay there too long, your freaking atoms get corrupted and you turn into an amalgamation monster seething of ether. It's a very cool setting. It's nice to be in. The proxy's work is very interesting and blends very well into it, whereas the Traveler is just a shoehorn insert. It doesn't even matter that much at the end of the day because your characters are doing all the real work. The Captain, do you even remember that the Captain is a thing in Honkai? Like, the focus is the Valkyries and all their sense. The proxies, on the other hand, are very real. Everyone is interacting with them, in the same sense as the Traveler. Like, at the end of the day, that's like what they learned from Genshin, and they did that with Bell and Wise, and they just did it in a way where they kept their human side. I mean, the characters have a voice. Like, there's no one speaking for them. You are listening to what Bell thinks. You are listening to what Wise thinks. And Wise and Bell actually have a relationship. And it's really good. It's really good from that. I like the world that they set. I really love the characters so far. I cannot wait to see more. I'm enjoying the story and I will keep reading. So the combat. The combat is amazing. It is incredible. Once you come in, they basically give you a basic rundown where you can just like mash through your attacks and like get your finishers. And you think that's what it's mainly about, but it actually gets way deeper than that very quickly. Again, if you look at the screen whenever you set up like fighting in the game, you quickly realize it is very much a character action game along the lines of Devil May Cry, Bayonetta. Like, for heck's sake, the ultimate meter that you work with is the style meter. Like, when you're doing attacks and you build up from freaking gray digits to blue digits to finally being able to actually use your ulti, it says your combo multipliers. Like, you get time 2 points for like utilizing your chain attacks. You get it. I can't remember all of the readings that has under it, but like it makes little quips as far as like how, you know, smoking sexy style. It has little quips at the bottom of the screen there. It just like changes really fast because it'll change if you're doing a dash or a chain attack. But that's your style meter. You can't use your ulti unless you're styling on your opponents. It just doesn't go down for getting hit. But that's where the other follow-up for the game is a speedrunner's game. Like, and it's very apparent because once you complete a stage, the first thing that the results tell you is how long it took you to clear the stage. The hard mode and story mode, which by the way, if you feel like the game isn't hard, there's a hard mode for all of the stuff that you just did in the story that is quickly scaled up to a higher end level. And right next to the clear that you get for finishing a hard mode stage is the time that you took to do that stage. It is a speedrunner's game. And that's where some of the sense of like lack of difficulty comes in. Because like with I've seen people complain that with small mobs, they feel like they're not aggressive enough. It's because you're supposed to style on them. And don't get me wrong, like that's gonna change in general because they don't want to rip you apart the first freaking week of the game. They don't want you to quit. But with that being said, it's competently made. Like, you have eyes in the back of your head when you're fighting. In Devil May Cry, whenever you have an enemy off screen, they calm down and they don't try attacking you until they walk up on screen and then try to hit you. In this game, they don't have them do that. They will still attack you from off screen, but on the bottom of your character, they have arrows that point to where that enemy is, and it will change a different color depending on if they just shot a projectile at you and you need to dodge it, or an enemy is about to run in and try stabbing you and you need to parry it. And it just allows you to completely style on your enemies. You look cool. You feel cool doing it. Just like in a fighting game where like all the bombastic stuff that is happening in the combo and in the match, it's stuff that you are doing. You know, you're very much making that happen. It feels very good to do. Like, you feel very strong in the game. On top of that, the elemental system has a lot of potential. As far as like the interaction between like actually getting your trauma effect, as far as like burning with its dot, or physical with assault and flinch. You also have a disorder. You have disorder, which is applying another element and reaching trauma threshold as they pass each other. The first one that was triggered gets a disordered effect, whereas like with burning, if you start with burning, then you applied assault, your burning would create a disorder, and your disordered burning would be, instead of the dot damage occurring over 18 hits, you get all 18 hits immediately. So it's just a huge burst of damage. And what's so cool about that is, especially right now, because you're just starting up, it's not that easy to pull off this effect, because there's only 2 characters that are good at applying elements right now, that being Piper and Grace, anomaly characters. So because of that, if you actually want to pull off disorders, you have to structure your team in a way that allows it. So to say, the base setup for a team is 1 anomaly character and 2 characters that don't share the same element as your anomaly. You know this because when you go into chapter 3 or chapter 2 rather, the trial team that they give you is literally set up that way so you can play with that effect and get electro flame disorder. And it is just really satisfying when the first time you start to pull off disorders when you fight a boss and you see that chunk for 40% of their HP, big white letters, disorder, the boss is freaking staggered, and you're just going in, running your rotation, you feel incredible. And then you just get that screen change, that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ending screen to be continued, big white letters, wipe out. My man, it feels great. Combat is really good in this game, and like it's only gonna get better as they introduce more characters and introduce different ways of playing. It's incredible. It's addictive. It is the main selling point of the game, and it is well worth your time, well worth looking into. So in conclusion, for now, all I can say is well done, MyooMyoo. Like, again, this game just lead style, everything about it screams we put money into this, and I am for it. I cannot wait to see all of the steps they take going on from here. Like, my best way of describing this game as compared to any other gacha game is that this one is designed to be an actual game, and that's not to throw shade on the others. It's just like this one's fully realized as far as its story, as far as its combat, as far as its setting, as far as its characters. And what's really cool about something like this is that it's ongoing. It will be ongoing for a long time, and MyooMyoo has shown that they love taking the money that they get from other projects and putting it back into the projects that they make. So just be prepared to see a lot. If I were to give this game a rating, like off of going, I would say straight 9 out of 10 is very good. The only things that I would say could be better is when you're in hollows, some of the dialogues that the computer says and the characters say will repeat. It's cool that they have unique lines for settings, but for instance, when you go into a hollow and you go to a gate that you have to put money in, the computer will make the same joke. We'll say the same line and make the same joke the first time you come in contact with it. Every other time it won't say anything, but you quickly become aware of that, and it's like and like she tries talking and you hold the fast forward button on that. The characters kind of do that. They have about like 3 lines that they will say depending on whether you got hurt or you got played or you healed or cleaned off some corruption. So I guess like 4 to 5. It's decent, but so to say, like getting more of that over time would be really nice. Especially considering that this is MyooMyoo we're talking about, so characters are released very slowly. Like you get a new character like once every 1 to 2 months, like if at all. And then they have dry patches where they don't release a character for like 2 to 3 months. So because of that, just like take the time to add more voice lines. You're going to anyway. I don't know if that's something they would be interested in doing, because their idea might just be add more characters and then you hear more voice lines that way. But so to say, that would make the game better. But outside of that, there's not much that can be complained about that isn't like, yeah, the game just started, you need to play it longer. Like there's a way to get free gear. There's ways to get stats that you want. So far there hasn't been a tutorial about disorder, but like they don't go out of their way to hide it. Like again, realistically, with that team that I brought up, you would end up figuring out how to do disorder or organically just from interacting with your characters. And I guess from that aspect point, they don't want to like bombard you with information. So either way, I think it's really good. Definitely 9 out of 10. Just add more voice lines and give the computer something else to say when you're running into an event in the hollows. But outside of that, man, keep doing what you're doing. I am very intrigued and very interested. Can't wait to see more of this game. You will definitely be seeing more on this channel. If you watched the entire video, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for spending the time just listening to me talk. Please like and subscribe and hit that bell. I got a lot more coming to you, not just Zenless. I play a lot of MyooMyoo games and I play Kuro games. All of that's coming up on the channel. Get ready for an update. My name's Brian. I play games and I love them, and I love ones that have depth to them. So take care, guys. Until next time, bye YouTube.